Hi, I'm Glenn Smith. I'm the president and CEO of Mauser Electronics. We are a Berkshire Hathaway company, and we are an electronics distributor, and we focus on supplying the newest products for new designs for engineers. Our objective is to match the engineer's newest design with the newest components from our suppliers. We think that adds great value to the engineer, where he can get a longer life cycle and better performance out of his product by using the newest components. So that's really what we do at Mauser.
All right. Now, since one of your aims is to help design engineers discover and buy the right components for their design, so could you give an idea of how the process of component suggestions for engineers has been improving at Mauser?
Well, at Mauser, we spend a lot of time working with our suppliers to look at their roadmaps of what they have coming out, what new products they're developing. So, for example, Intel, Texas Instruments are telling us 6 or 12 months before the marketplace about a product that's being launched. And so we start developing information about what is the best application for that product. We meet with their engineers, our engineers and the marketing team. They spend a lot of time to determine what is the right application for that product. And then we find the customers that really would be most suited for that, and we help them to understand the capabilities of that product and how they can improve the type of device that they're designing.
Okay. Last year you mentioned that you're setting up a content team in India
Yes.
to add additional information. So could you give us an idea of how that will help your end customers?
Yeah, well, we are adding content teams in India. We have actually teams that actually are doing the product information. So we have double E's that are taking the information about the components and making sure that we have all the parameters when a new product is released, that we have all the electronic specifications and everything correct. And then we also have a team of double E's that do the marketing, so they're going to write information about those products. And then also we have applications people that are also engineers that will take those new components and then do that research on the applications and try to help the customer understand how to use that product in his design. So having that in India is really beneficial because there are so many engineers in India, and it's a fantastic way to really to use engineers that want to help other people and not just be on a bench making a design. So it's we found a lot of people wanting to join us to do that. So we're going to continue to expand that team as we go forward.
All right. And could you give us an idea of what kind of content your team would be adding over the content that the manufacturer would have included? So, like they would have data sheets and some basic reference designs.
Well, they'll have data sheets, reference designs. There will be, all the parametric information. Sometimes suppliers, are very generous about the applications that they think the product is useful for, and so our engineers actually have to try to decode that and say, okay, you're listing all these applications, but let's get down to the real truth of the world,
Right.
which is really what is this really designed for? What are the benefits for that particular application? So they spend their time doing that and trying to reach the truth about a product, and it's quite a process that we go through, and we've learned how to do it over the years. And so we, having the people in India do that is really great because they can tailor it more towards the marketplace here too.
Okay. And have you seen any sort of feedback coming in yet because of this content, either via traffic growth and numbers or maybe direct feedback?
Oh yeah, we have seen tremendous traffic growth on our website, especially these content areas. Also articles that we write. We write a lot of articles, and we actually get people in the industry, insiders, technologists, to write articles about the future, about a particular type of device or the future in a component technology. And that gets tremendous numbers of clicks and reads on the website. And I think it's because people are interested on how things are evolving in our industry, but at the same time they also want to make sure that when they're developing a new product, that they've aligned their product correctly with the right supplier's roadmap. They want to know that what they've launched has a path forward in their development cycle that matches the development of the processor or the sensor that's involved. So that's really how that happens.
All right. And the industry content, would it be limited to existing partners of Moza, or would you also open it out to individual experts or consultants?
Yeah, we do open the content areas up to quite a few experts in the industry. They're not all Mauser suppliers. There's quite a few industry people involved, but there's people from universities can be involved in this too. There's quite a lot of people that are involved in that article development.
All right. And so this we could look at it as a value add for the website, right? For the visitors coming to your website, even if they don't purchase a component at that point of time. Any other value adds being added or in the pipeline for the Mauser website?
Oh, well, we're working all the time on making the website easier to use, better for the engineer. We're doing some things now to make the data sheets more browsable, so the engineer can see quickly, look at a data sheet, and then go to the next data sheet and see what's happening. I think that's a real value that nobody else is offering right now.
Right.
And we're doing the same thing with images, especially when you're looking for a mechanical device, electromechanical or switch, relay or something. The component, form factor is important. And so we actually spend some time on the website developing a way to see those images and to help the guide the engineer through selecting a product physically, not just from the specs. But there's a lot of other things we're working on. There's so many things out there that we'd like to do. It's a matter of, first you have to have the data, you have to have a repository for the data, and then you have to manage all that. And so some of these things are really difficult to do. But we're working a lot with dev tools and to make sure that we have the latest dev tool for the engineer and the latest software and everything that we can to try to make that job easier.
One of the points that we had discussed last year was the emergence of a lot of design communities and maker spaces in places like Bangalore, Chennai and Delhi. So this is a question in the front of whether Moza would be looking at the chance of opening a brick and mortar Moza cafe sort of a place where design engineers could come up, maybe do meetups, workspaces, a sort of a maker space.
Well, that sounds very tempting. We've looked at the possibility of making some kind of a maker space, and I think that it takes a lot of infrastructure, a lot of local knowledge to do that. And I think there's some people out there that are developing maker spaces, maker garages now that are doing it very well. I think it's probably better to partner with them, and because they know the local people, they're more involved in the community. And if we try to do it ourselves, we would be starting from nothing. And so I think that our objective is to help them have the latest technologies at their disposal. We'd love to work with these communities, maker shops, to actually have the components there for the new designs. So I think that's more how we'll play in that space rather than building our own brick and mortar locations.
With the interaction that you might have had with both your supplier side and maybe the customers and the maker side, would it be possible to share your view of what your, let's say, the top 3 or top 5 most favorite technologies in the past couple of years were?
Oh wow, boy, there's been so many technologies released. I can tell you what's getting the most traction is, it seems like anything related to ARM. Everybody wants to develop something around ARM, and we're seeing a lot of traction in dev tools, but also in people buying processors. And now even perhaps Microchip will buy Atmel, so they're going to be in the ARM space all of a sudden too. So that seems to be the hot button for engineers. And also sensors. I mean, the sensor technology developments, there's new technologies coming. A lot of MEMS sensors. We're seeing an explosion in the number of MEMS devices sensing everything, environmental, physical. So I think that, to me, that's pretty exciting, because if you can't measure it, you can't detect it, then you can't use that as a piece of data. And so I think that's what we're going to see, and I think that gets me excited to think about all that.
Any comments you would have on the numerous acquisitions that we've seen in the past 1 year?
Oh, yeah, we've seen a lot of acquisitions recently. I think that, you know, it's been interesting who's pairing up with who. Most of it seems logical. The latest one that I just mentioned, Microchip, maybe buying Atmel. I mean, they came in at the last minute there. Somebody else was ahead of them. So there's been kind of some politicalness, turmoil involved in that. But I think for the most part, it's been interesting, and it's going to make our industry kind of better. Because if you look at the technologies from different people like NXP and Freescale merger, I mean, they had some similar technologies, but they kind of both had some pieces they were missing. And by combining them together, I think it makes it more a better platform for the customer. So I think that so far they've all been all good, and you know, I suppose that it's probably going to continue until they're all eaten up.
Okay. All right. And so some of the in some of the interactions we've had with semiconductor manufacturers, so they were saying that their marketing material over the last year, any of their components towards the Internet of Things paradigm concept, they've been targeting their material towards the software engineer side, because they feel that now they have an equal amount of weightage in selecting hardware.
Yeah.
So, anything from your side on that?
Yeah, I've seen a trend with customers more interested in the software or the product, the part of their product that's not on the board. You know, whether you're building you know, even a sleep sensor or something where you're focused on the sensor maybe that goes on the mattress, but you don't want to have to build a computer or to anything to manage that data, microcontroller. So I think we're seeing a lot of people want to make the microcontroller just you know, really ubiquitous and just focus on the software that makes their product different, as well as the sensors that makes their product different. So I think that's going to be a trend that continues. I saw a lot of that at the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, when I was there. I talked to quite a few people that's their strategy. They're on softwares or platforms. They're not building a device. They don't care about the data storage and the digital conversion. They want to focus on the other parts of the system. So I think that's going to continue. Even though, you know, the funny thing is, you know, that they're buying a board that maybe costs them $20 and they can build it themselves for $5, but they still rather not build the board. They just rather buy it,
Right.
pay more for the board, but I think they save time in development.
All right. So we've got some of our community members who are, so it's just one opinion. So what they were saying is that with the increase in trend of what you just mentioned, which is a lot of people working on developer boards rather than building up the hardware themselves, they're saying we might end up losing a lot of that core competency in the basic hardware design. What do you think? Is the trade-off worth it, that a lot of people are able to use developer boards to accelerate their product time to market?
I think that it's interesting that people are choosing to buy versus build. I don't know how that's going to affect the future of people being able to design a board, but I think that that's still going to exist. Maybe it'll become more of a specialty than a standard thing. But even now, when you think about it, you know, we see a lot of engineers that want to build their product from a reference design. They want to buy this RF module and put that in the product. A lot of that because of regulations and certifications for RF, but I think that is continuing and it's going to continue because it's a building block. It's just easier to do, and they can focus on other areas. So it is a skill that could go away a little bit, but I think there's always going to be somebody that can design at that board level. I don't think that's going to go away.
And now let's talk about your facility, your warehouse, where you had it automated to the point that you can get a component out in 15 minutes. So how has that been growing over the last year?
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time in our facility, working on our facility, automating it. Automation is continuous for us because we're continually growing, and when you're growing, either you hire a lot more people or you get slower. And we didn't want to get slower. I don't mind hiring people, but what we want is a consistent performance. So we've added automation to what we do. So instead of just automating the processes where we can package an order, we actually have automated the containers. So the box the orders go in, it's all automated now. So the products are in a box, the packing slip and all the certifications that are necessary go in the box, and the box is sealed all by a robot and labeled by a robot and then sorted by a robot into the FedEx or DHL truck or UPS truck. It's all done by machine now. We used to have people that did all that. So we're continuing to do that, and we'll do more. And we just added onto the warehouse. We had to add a completely new automated receiving area and a new shipping area because we just didn't have enough docks. So we had 12 docks, and we decided we need 30. So we had to add a lot of space. And then there's a lot of space behind the docks to support all that infrastructure and all the equipment that you have to put in place to manage all that process flow.
Okay.
But we're just as fast, but we do more product, and we haven't had to bring on a whole lot more people to do it. So.
So this is more of a logistics supply question. When you receive components from the manufacturer, do you have some sort of special packaging for your warehouse, or does it come in the standard manufacturer's packaging?
No, the manufacturers ship everything to us in their standard package, which is sometimes painful because if they send us something that's a reel of 25,000 pieces and an engineer wants 3, then we have to break that open. So if it could be a moisture sensitive package, so we've got to open the moisture sensitive package. We've got to pull out 3 pieces, cut it off the tape, repackage it and send it out. Then we have to seal the package again because it's moisture sensitive. And then we keep track of how many minutes that package is open, and then we have to, after so many openings, we have to rebake it to remove the moisture. So because this is a typical thing for us, we have to deal with the manufacturer wanting to have a standard process and the customer wanting something exactly to their spec. So we have to be the middle guy that takes care of all that. Well, it's challenging, but that's what we do. That's the value we provide.
Yes. So any other techniques apart, just like your baking process, any other techniques that you use to keep your components in prime status or whatever?
Well, there's a lot it takes to manage it because the customers want fresh material. They don't want anything old. So we have to actually manage all the date codes, for example. So the supplier sends us a product, we have to know when the product is old, and then we have to remove it from the inventory and replace it with new products. So there's all kinds of things like that. There's things like contacts on connectors are very difficult because they come on gigantic spools that are 2 feet in diameter, 3 feet in diameter, and the customer wants 10. So we have to spend a lot of time repackaging that, and they can get damaged very easily. So, there's just so many different varieties of how things get done. Our warehouse is segregated by how it's packaged. So all the moisture sensitive is one area, all of the electrostatic sensitive product is an area. There's the connector reels are in an area. Everything is segregated. Some stuff has to be packed in styrofoam because it's got some sensitive leads, so we need to make sure the leads don't get damaged. So almost everything we sell has some kind of special handling requirements, and it's really the most challenging thing we do is to manage all of those requirements of the customer.
All right. I remember you saying that your home was automated back in the late 80s.
Yes.
So any of your warehouse automation tech making their way to your home?
Well, it's hard to put warehouse automation into to a home environment because most of the warehouse automation is machines that are moving packages from one place to another, and don't really need that in the house. But I try to stay on the leading edge of everything, understanding what's going on. I know I've bought a few new robots for my house and a few new sensors that are all tied into my phone. So I think that in our warehouse we have, for example, everybody uses an iPad mini to manage the orders. Every order puller has an iPad mini, and the orders are all come to them wirelessly. So in some ways it's the other way around. Some home technologies, consumer technologies are coming into our warehouse because that's the simplest way to to have a low cost system that is reliable.
Okay. So if we were to look at kind of a way to predict the future of, let's say, home automation, would you choose Jetsons or Star Trek or Star Wars as?
Well, I think I would have to say if I was going to live in some futuristic home, I would probably rather see the Star Trek type of home where you've got the computer talking to you and doing what you tell it to do, but you don't. The Jetsons, I don't want a Rosie the robot on the 27th floor of a crazy space age building that looks unsafe to me. I think Star Trek seems more down to earth, and Star Wars, I haven't seen a lot of technology there that is anything except for a lot of battling technologies. I don't know if there's a lot of automation technologies that I've seen in that environment.
They still haven't figured out how to get their lasers to hit the target either.
Yeah, there's no, I don't know what I guess you could have a meat carving laser sword, but I don't know. Really, there's not a lot of technologies in Star Wars that look like I would want in my house.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get an idea of what all wearables you're using now.
Oh, well, at one time I've gone through a lot of wearables. I've tried a lot of them out, and I keep breaking them. I went through, one of the first generations. I went through 7 of one of the models in a less than 2 years, and then I got another one and went through 2 of those, and got another one. I've been through 3 of those. So right now I'm using one from Microsoft because I like the footprint of it. It's smaller, but it has nothing to do with Bill Gates being on our board of directors or anything. But it's I like to try the newest things. But the problem is sometimes I try the newest thing and I like it, and I don't move to the next generation because I like the one I've got. And that is kind of where I'm at. But I think there's a lot of things that are like on my iPhone now that I don't need some of the sensors anymore because it can measure my steps, and there's so many other things out there. I think we're going to see continuing integration of all that. One of the things, like I have a bunch of old iPhones around my house, and I use them for managing the thermostat or the home automation, the lighting, the security, the pool, all on one device. And I think that's the kind of thing that I've been playing around with. Wearables, I think, I don't know how many you can have. I've got 2 that I normally have. I have a camera that I usually wear. It's called it's more of a data logger or a day logger rather than taking snapshots, rather than just recording everything you see. So there's some fascinating things that I think are cool, but how practical they are is still a question.
Okay. Maybe back in the 90s, we used to have a lot of us who used to assemble our own computers, swap out cards, and keep improving them. With the modular kind of desktops we had back then, would you personally prefer a mobile device the way we get it today, which is completely integrated and nothing can be repaired, it's all soldered on, or something like a modular device, a modular smartphone, chunkier, but you might be able to keep the same form factor and keep upgrading parts?
That's a very interesting question because I was one of those guys back in the 90s that I always wanted the best computer, so I would just keep putting in new cards and replacing them, and putting in a new drive, and I just kept upgrading it. But at the same time now, I kind of enjoy the fact that my computer's a lot smaller and lighter than it was before, and faster. So I guess there's a trade-off there. I like small, light, rather than kind of clunky with
Right.
interchangeability. So I guess I'm going to have to go with an integrated device that has it all, and then I just have to unfortunately replace it every so often.
Okay, so those are all my questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.